Hey folks, it's Kylie at Games Unlimited. I just got a chance to play Daybreak. This is a new cooperative game about trying to address climate change, trying to help draw down some of the carbon that we put in the atmosphere. It's a cooperative game from Matt Leacock, who created Pandemic, the most well-known cooperative game out there. And I want to show you a little bit of it. In a game of Daybreak, you've got the main board here, which might look a little complex, but actually is just showing a few things, such as the amount of ocean and forest that can sequester some of the carbon that you have, and the all-important temperature tracker. So as you produce excess carbon, it's going to go on this temperature tracker, and every time one of these lines is filled, depending on number of players, you're going to add another 0.1 degree to the global temperature. That's an increase over 1900. We're trying to draw down, which means having negative carbon consumption before the end of either 6 rounds of the game or before you filled up the thermometer all the way to the top. Now, most of the action is actually going to take place on these player boards here. Each player board represents either a country, a continent, a part of the world, and they're asymmetrical, so they start differently. This one has a lot of energy needs, and it's meeting those energy needs with 9 units of dirty energy and 3 units of clean energy. And it's also got various types of emissions going on. So these are things like industrial things, the food production, transportation, etc. This country over here, a little bit different, much lower energy needs, and a lot more specifically transportation energy needs. What happens at the end of every round is you're going to count up basically all of these brown symbols counts as a carbon emission. In this case, this country has 13 emissions plus 9 dirty energy. So that's 21 total carbon emissions, which are represented by these individual cubes or these 5s, and you're going to place everything up in the recent emissions pile. You will combine all countries' emissions, subtract the things that can sequester carbon, such as these oceans and these forests, and whatever's left over, that's got to go onto the thermometer. We're trying to draw down, we're trying to get rid of our carbon emissions by converting dirty energy to clean energy. That's a great way to do it, just like that. And getting rid of these other things that cause so many emissions. For example, switching to electric vehicles might allow us to get rid of one of these transportation tokens there. How you do that is just this really cool setup. Every country has 5 unique cards that they're going to be using, and these allow you to do stuff. For example, the clean electricity plants that you discard a card from your hand to create a clean energy. You're playing cards. The cards that you draw have these symbols on them, which can be used to buff other things. You'll notice that this card gives you 1 extra clean energy for every one of these symbols you've got there. If you've drawn some cards that actually have that symbol, you can tuck them behind in order to be able to make this card more powerful. But you could also instead play the cards on top, getting rid of that original power and having different powers. Sometimes they're limited to a certain number of times per round. They're limited by things that you draw. All players get to do that simultaneously. We're just talking to one another. The game reminds me a little bit of Spirit Island in that we're all talking to each other, trying to help each other out. Some cards, this country actually can export some of its green energy to other players. This particular country can give a card from their hand to another player. You're really working together, trying to have fewer and fewer emissions, more and more clean energy, and ultimately draw down so that you're producing less carbon than you can capture out on the board, and that's how you win the game. We're going to be demoing this at Games Unlimited next Sunday. You can sign up to play a full game, and we'll have it out all week to show you. That's Daybreak. I'm Kylie at Games Unlimited. Come on down, check out a copy, and unbox some fun.